Started.
Yeah. So good morning to all. Seeking the blessing of the Almighty and His Holiness Jagadguru Sri Sri Shivratri Deshikendra Mahaswamiji. I once again good morning to all. I am Shashi Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, JSS, Academy of Technical Education, Bangalore. I will be the Master of Ceremony for today's webinar. We know that in the present academia scenario, teaching is not the only requirement from the faculty members. In connection with recently approved National Education Policy 2020, students are expected to equip with multi-skill. Also, the teaching professionals are also expected to perform the role of researcher as well as the consultant. So we know that quality publications are the reflections of good research work. To address these areas, today's webinar on the topic writing a research article, a vital tips for the business will shed more light on the importance of publishing research articles. Now, I request Dr. Santosh BS, Head Department of Civil Engineering, JSS ATE, Bangalore, to do the welcome speech.
Yeah, thank you, Shashi. Good morning to one and all. Seeking the blessings of His Holiness Jagadguru Sri Shivratri Rajendra Mahaswamiji and Jagadguru Sri Shivratri Deshikendra Mahaswamiji. So let us start with the session. So everything begins with an idea, and idea provokes imagination. Imagination tries for improvements, and these together with the proper implementation make a dynamic researcher. So I thank to each and every one of you for participating in this webinar on the topic writing a research article, a vital tips for beginners. We are very pleased to welcome you all for this event. So on behalf of Department of Civil Engineering, JSS Academy of Technical Education, Bangalore, Association of Consulting Civil Engineers, Bangalore Center, I would like to welcome our today's speaker, Dr. R. Ramesh Naika, Professor, Construction Technology Management Division, National Institute of Technology, Warangal. I thank you for accepting our invitation and for taking this precious time to deliver the topic on writing a research article via vital for me. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I'm pleased to welcome Mr. Rajesh Kannan, Chairman, Mr. Srikanth, Secretary, and Mr. Savina, Treasurer of Association of Consulting Civil Engineer, Bangalore Center, for their association in conducting this webinar. And this is our fourth webinar, the JSS ATE and Association of Consulting Civil Engineer, Bangalore Center, we are hosting a webinar. And I also extend my warm welcome to all the office bearers of ACCI for Indian chapter. Welcome you all. So it's my pleasure to welcome all the participants. So for this session, we have participants from all over the globe. So whether it is a teaching fraternity, a research scholar, students, and industrial professionals, I extend my warm welcome to all the participants. So I would like to welcome our beloved principal, Dr. Mrutyunjay V. Latte, who generously helped us in make this event happen. Also, I extend my warm welcome to Dr. D.V. Ashoka, Dean R&D, who is with us as a moderator for this event. Welcome you, sir. Finally, I would like to welcome all my faculty colleagues, program coordinator Mr. Shashi Kumar and Abhishek. I hope this session will be fruitful. So with this welcome note, I would like to share some information regarding JSS ATE Bangalore. So JSS ATE Bangalore is one of the premier institutions in the country. So which is the Jagadguru Sri Shivratri Academy of Technical Education. So it was founded in 1997. So it is an integral part of JSS Mahavidyapita, Mysore. So JSSATE Bangalore has been providing value-added higher education in engineering and technological sciences. So with the blessings of Jagadguru Sri Shivratri Deshikendra Mahaswamiji, 24th of Pontiff and the President of JSS Mahavidyapita Mysore, JSSATE has continuously striving for excellence with a very good infrastructure facility, state-of-art laboratories and competent faculties. JSS Mahavidyapita Mysore is a registered society which is offering educational services from crèche to PhD in various fields of education like engineering, medicine, science, law, commerce, general education, culture and spirituality. So it has more than 300 educational institutions, including 2 universities which are located in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Uttar Pradesh, and other countries like Mauritius, Dubai and USA. It is also running a special schools for differently abled at Mysore and Bangalore. Total number of students under JSS Mahavidyapita is around 1 lakh and there are more than 10,000 employees under JSS Mahavidyapita. Also at Sutumat, about 4,000 students from different parts of India are given free education from primary to high school. JSS MVP Technical Education Division consists of more than 20 institutions, including 4 engineering colleges, 4 polytechnics, 3 ITIs, 3 STEMs, JSS Consultants, JSS Research Foundations, Urban Hut, etc. So JSSATE Bangalore is approved by ACTE New Delhi and affiliated to Visvesvaraya Technological University Belgaum, Karnataka, and it is accredited by NBA. And also we have recently received a gold ranking in QS iGauge. So with this introduction, once again I extend my warm welcome to all of you who are all participating in this webinar. Thank you. Over to Shashi.
Thank you, Dr. Santosh, for welcoming the speaker and others. Also sharing the information about the JSS. So we know that it is obvious that civil engineering students and faculty members are expected to have close association with the industry professional. Association of Consulting Civil Engineers India is one of the premier professional body which is having almost 35 plus centers all over the India. Our department is having an organization membership with the ACCE and actively organizing and participating with many events in association with ACC. Now it's my pleasure to request Engineer Srikanth Channel, yes, Secretary ACCI Bangalore Center, to talk about the activities of ACCE.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Diksha, am I audible?
Yes, sir. You're audible.
Yeah, thank you. Dear Principal Sir, Dr. Mrutyunjaya V. Latte, then HOD, Dr. Santosh BS, then Dr. D.V. Ashoka, then Faculty Coordinators Mr. Shashi Kumar and Mr. Abhishek, and today's speaker, Dr. R. Ramesh Nayak, Assistant Professor in NIT Warangal, and members of ACCE, CEA, students, and our ACCE's Bangalore Center Chairman, Engineer Rajesh Kannan, Engineer Savin Kumar, and our MC members and all other participants. We from ACCE are happy to coordinate with academic institutions for any kind of interaction or knowledge sharing or any kind of activity that enhances the furthering of civil engineering profession. ACCE formed in 1986 after the collapse of Gangarama building adjacent to the recently once again collapsed Kapali Theatre's adjacent buildings. I think everybody might have heard of it. With centers located in Bangalore, ACCE has 24 centers spread across the country, and recent one was opened just 4 days ago in Kar. Our aims and objectives include, but not limited to, fostering fostering the civil engineering profession in all angles of civil engineering fraternity, conducting seminars, and nowadays we call it as a webinar at local level, national level, and international levels. And recent one was Redcon 2020 by Bangalore Center. We believe in sharing of knowledge in the engineering platforms and will ultimately benefit the society at large. We civil engineers are responsible for all facets of life, like the clean air that we have to breathe, then the clean water that we have to drink, the food that we eat partially, because the irrigation systems and everything nowadays are a part of our food production, then the safe house that we stay, and the safe roads that we drive and we use in the airports, the railways, the tunnels, so whatnot, all the infrastructure, the buildings that we stay, everything that we create as part of our civil engineering profession, we are all responsible for their well-being. Now, this civil engineering or the noble profession, however, in recent times has the trend has been a little discouraging for our profession, in the sense that we have let out our profession to the other professions partly, because the profession is being governed and managed by the other professions, which I think we should try hard to get back our repute. In that direction, our ACCE has started an interaction with all the local centers of the engineering professions, associations, the institutions, to get them together, make them together, congregate at one place, and speak about our problems and issues with the government, and to have our due respect and dignity get it back. And this is with this regard, we have created a group called Task Force at our ACC head office, and from there we are connecting all the civil engineering fraternity. Maybe it is an institution, maybe it is an association, maybe it is an individual. We want everyone together and act as one body, and see that our associations, in the sense, professions, interests and dignities are restored. In that direction, we have made a task force and we are doing lots of things, and we want to, for example, we want to enhance the civil engineering profession. The civil engineering profession also has to be enhanced in the sense some of the things have been changed and made to change by the other professions, which we are trying hard to reintroduce the courses. And then engineering bill is a centuries old profession, doesn't have the recognition as an engineer, whether it is a academic area or whether it is a profession that is like a consultant or it is a contractor. One should have the recognition as an engineer. In that direction, engineering bill is a must, and we are trying hard to push that in the parliament to get through it. Okay. Now the students may not be aware of all these things, but once they come out of the college, definitely they will come to know about it. But it is better they should know about their profession, what it is going to happen in the future when they come out and land at the arena. With this introduction, I thank this JSS ATE, Academy of Technical Education, to have this collaboration, and our ACC platform is always welcome for any kind of knowledge sharing event. So I think I have made my point. This thing. Thank you very much, sir. Back to you.
Sir, thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing the information about the ACC objective as well as the activities. Now I request my colleague, Professor Abhishek R, to introduce today's speaker, Dr. R. Ramesh Naik.
Very good morning to one and all present here. Myself, Abhishek R, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, JSS Academy of Technical Education, would like to take this opportunity to introduce today's speaker. Dr. R. Ramesh Naika, presently working as Assistant Professor in the Division of Construction Technology and Management, Department of Civil Engineering, National Institute of Technology, Warangal. He has a background in building technology and construction management. His areas of expertise include building information modeling, modern construction techniques for low-house scheme, sustainable construction materials, life cycle cost assessment of construction project, and application of GIS in construction safety management. He has obtained his PhD from the University of Malaya, Malaysia, and he has received the Excellence Award for Outstanding Achievement in the category of PhD. He has obtained his MTech in Building Technology and Construction Management from IIT Madras. He has previously worked as an assistant professor in the Department of Civil Engineering at Manipal Academy of Technical Education, India. He has publications in various journals and received the Best Research Paper of Presenter Awards in various international conferences. He is also a reviewer of journals and a member of RILEM, Institute of Structural Engineers and Association of Civil Engineers, United Kingdom. Apart from this, he has many more distinctions to his credits. It is our honor to have him in the today's webinar as our speaker. Once again, I would like to welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you, Professor Abhishek, for introducing the speaker. Now, without delaying further, I request Dr. R. Ramesh Naika to start the expert talk on writing a research article, vital tips for the beginner. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shashma, sir. Very good morning, one and all. So, I thank once again Mr. Abhishek R for giving a very brief and very descriptive introduction about me. So, I don't need to explain further. I don't need to give any further introduction about myself. So, without much delay, I'll straight away start with my today's session, the webinar session on writing a research article, vital tips for beginners. So, today's webinar session, the outline of my webinar session goes with this: article types, key takeaways from article types, review articles, original research article, which is easier to publish. It means to say like either a review article or original research article. So in addition to that, the other mode of publications, so the one which I'm covering in this today's webinar session is patent report. So, and finally it ends with references and goes for, we'll go for question and answer sessions. So before start with the article type, so I just would like to explain a little about the current situation of the researcher. The field of research requires persistence, and like most researchers devote many sleepless nights. So I think here participants are like scholars, even faculties, because as you know, like during the scholars, like when we do PhD, we could understand like how many sleepless nights we are going through to conduct this research. Therefore, even not only limited scholars, even for the faculties where like early career of the research, so they devote many sleepless nights towards conducting a research and documenting the results. So in this competitive world of academia, so you are expected to start publishing the early in your career. So for instance, like as soon as you join for PhD, so you'll be expected to start with your review paper. So that is what most of the supervisors or guides will start pushing you towards, like start going, collect many of the literatures and start preparing the manuscript, which is called like review article. So likewise, in even early research career also, you are expected to produce many number of publications. So in your career, and many early career research are faced with looming worry. So looming worry, like, so as soon as you enter into the PhD, or as soon as you enter into your MTech project, or as soon as you enter into academia, so then don't worry how to publish a journal article. So let it be a review article or let it be a original research article. So this is the first worry. So with this kind of worry we'll be having in many of the researchers in academia, let it be students or let it be faculties. Therefore, so this session will give some insights, or I would like to highlight some points which you have not learned through any books or any kind of sources. So this I just like to share my own experiences, how I had gone through this research, early career of my research, and even like my doing my PhD. So that I just wanted to share with you. So hope this could give some sort of tips to start your research. So like most of the time we think like when we start original research article, like we wanted to write original research article. So during the original research article we feel like it's quite difficult. So but although the original research sometimes takes years, so number of years to complete it, but it doesn't mean that you cannot have any publications to your credit. So till the time when you let's say when you complete your research. So but here many of the students or many of the faculties in their early career research, so they will have difficulty to start, like where to start. So so before like getting into the research or before trying to learn about the publication, so I feel like I would like to suggest to understand the different types of publication. So there are different types of publications, scholarly literatures. So some of which requires original research. So the original research will be categorized as primary literature, and like some that are based on other published work. So that is what we call it as a review article. So that is secondary literature. So it is important to have a clear idea about the different types. So that is where like in my webinar session, so first I'll be giving some insights on article types. So there, by understanding the different types of article, so that you can publish in journal. So this will help you understand understand the ways in which you can disseminate your work. So disseminate your work and identify what kind of articles that would be suitable for your study. So the types of publications are different in different fields, but when you search, I think you have been or you have gone through Science Direct. So here when you enter into Science Direct, so here you can get list of the publication types. So here start with the review articles, research articles, encyclopedia, book chapters, conference abstract, book review, case reports, conference info, correspondence, data articles, discussions, editorials, examinations, mini reviews, news, patent, and product guidelines. And in addition to that, if you are trying to produce any guidelines, let's say if you are conducting a new sort of experiment or you are developed a new method, so in such cases you can produce guidelines and publish in different types of the articles. So let us start with the review article. So after presenting the different types or different article types over here, I'll take you to the Science Direct, so where you can see or have access to these different types of the articles. So the first one is like review article. So as I was trying to tell in the previous discussion, where I was mentioned that secondary literatures. So secondary literatures are like we are collecting the information from the published work, and again in the review article itself, again there are further classifications. So we can classify them into three categories. The first one is literature review, and second one is systematic review, and the third one is meta-analysis. So that I'll be explaining in the further slides when we will be I'll be presenting on review articles. So here you can see the title, a review of mechanical properties of fiber reinforced concrete at elevated temperature. So this is the review article. The second one is research article. So where it is also research article where they have conducted some sort of experiments or investigation. For the investigation, they have documented their results. So they document their results. So, but it took a lot of time. Sometimes it takes a lot of times to produce these kind of articles. But which is easier that I will be discussing in later part of this presentation. So then we have the patent reports. So you can see here, this is patent. So this is patent concrete surface cleaning composition method. So when you are producing a new product, or when you are developing a new method, so you can patent it. So that by publishing the patent report, so that the other investigators, although they have the same idea or they have produced the same product, so once it's published, so they cannot patent it again. So therefore, it's important to patent your product or patent your method. So then you have short communication. It's like if you are early of your research and you cannot have the enough results, or you cannot collect a lot of information. So in such cases, you can go for short communication. So when you are browsing the different types of articles, so there you can see that whether they have the short communication or not. So in such cases, so this is just limited to 3,000 to 5,000 words. Whereas the review article, so the review article, if let's say if it is a systematic review, it is less than 10,000. Whereas research article, it is less than 8,000 words. Then the short communication will be like 3,000 to 5,000, between 3,000 and 5,000. And product reviews, so here you can see that. So this is the letters. So this shows the letters. And here the application. So when you have the publication in the form of product reviews, it is application like where you have developed some products, and for that product you are publishing it, so that it is a way of commercializing your product. So once you publish it, so number of researchers will be going through your product, let it be like industries or even academia. So when in the academia they wanted to use the same product, so in such cases it will be very useful for them, and you will be getting more opportunity to commercialize your product. Therefore, it is very important to publish your product, that is in the form of product reviews. And book chapters, so this is where you can see that the number, it shows the chapter number 1 or 2 in that particular journal. So if it is mentioned, it's 1, 2 or any numericals, any numbers. So in such cases, it is a book chapter, properties of cement and concrete in the presence of nanomaterials. So likewise, even you can have book reviews. So it is clearly titled over here. This is book reviews. And even you can publish if you are some sort of research you have conducted, like pilot study. So when you have the pilot study, so you can document it and publish in the form of encyclopedia, or again you can become an editor. So becoming an editor, then you can conference proceedings and so on. And there are other publications like practice guidelines, product reviews. So the short communication already we were discussed here, and the software publication. So now let me just quickly go through the Science Direct. So where you can check all these information. Yes. So here So when you like open this Science Direct, then you can just key in your topic and search. So with respect to this topic, you can see that what is the type of articles you can publish on the topic. So these were the things which I snapshot and just presented in PowerPoint. So these are various types of articles, review, research articles, encyclopedia, and others. And like also you can see the publication title on in different journals. So here, Journal of Cleaner Production Proceedings. So likewise, you have many journals and access type, whether it's open access or open archive. So likewise, you can understand the different types of articles and also understand like in which type of the article you can publish your work with respect to your collected data, with respect to the whatever results you have been produced it, and that result can be presented in various types of the articles, like whichever it's suitable. So that suitability you can find it in the other way of searching the articles. So that I'll be again explain after complete the discussion and review and research article. I hope it's clear, like where you can search articles. Like if you wanted to see the review, so to understand like the how the review article is presented, so you can access and you can understand it. The most easiest way to record your all references is use the reference managers. So use the reference managers such as EndNote, Mendeley, and there are many other like there are many managers. So, but which I would suggest here is, and which I have used so far is Mendeley. So Mendeley is easiest way to learn as a reference manager, and you can straight away import your content to the reference manager. So here you can see the Mendeley portal. So and this you can log in wherever you want. You can access through your mobile phones. So even you can access through any remote area, just logging in your credentials. So you can log in, and here you can get all the details. Like you may get the suggestions. So whatever suggestions like with respect to the topic which you have incorporated or whichever you have given as research interest. So based on research interest, so you can see the suggested articles, and here you get the library. So whichever articles you can store in your library, so Mendeley, so that you can be viewed. So here you can see on the left side where I'm scrolling down, and I have created different folders. So different folders. So with respect to the topic, I can store that particular paper in that particular folder, specific folder, like that's a BIM. So when I click on BIM, so I'll get all the papers related to BIM. 3D printing, so I can get all the papers whichever I have browsed, and which I have found like it is suitable to my research. So that I have again imported or maintained in this reference manager. So also like there are some conference papers, or if there are any other topic like graphene in concrete. So like let's say if you have thesis and you want to maintain the separate reference manager for the thesis, so that you can easily cite there. So you don't need to manually enter the citation in your report. So when you are citing it, again I'll show it while when giving an example for review paper, and when I'm going to personal research paper. So likewise, you can create many number of folders, and you can store all the literatures. So by storing all the literatures, so then you can go through each and every one. So if you don't want to have this online browsing of this Mendeley, also you get Mendeley desktop. So that Mendeley desktop, so where let me quickly show Mendeley desktop. Yeah, so this is where I'm accessing this Mendeley reference manager in my desktop, and when you want So you store all your literature review papers or publications, and whenever you wanted to read that particular paper, just double click. If it is stored the PDF file, so you can just double click over there. So by double clicking, so you can go through the abstract, introduction, and here you have other tools such as like highlight. So you wanted to highlight, so wherever you feel like it's important and related to your research, so you can highlight it. And likewise, if you want to write some note on that, so you can write a note over there, so that when again reopen it whenever you want it during your research, so you can easily catch the idea or whatever you understood to this particular paper. And if you wanted to change the color, so you can change the color. So and if you want to write summary of this, so you can write summary over there on the left side, right side. So this is all about monthly reference manager. And in addition to that, like you have the EndNote, but EndNote you need a subscription from the institute. So if you don't get a subscription from the institute, it's quite hard to use the EndNote. There are like a couple of ways, like use a free trials and all, but this is a free version. Like monthly is a free version, so you can use it whenever you want it, and it's more convenient to use it. And also I'll show that when you are writing a report, how to cite that. Once you cite that, it automatically generated a bibliography. It means like automatically it will be generated in reference manager. And also you can change the style. So whatever style you want it, reference style, because each journal will have their own style. Like most of the times you'll be having APA style, but some of the other journals will be the IEEE style, or some of the other journals will be expecting the MLA style. So with whatever the style required, or the guidelines of that, so you can follow that particular guidelines and for particular style and cite it over there. So now let me get back to my presentation. So this is all about article types. I hope you had got clear information and some sort of tips like how to start search your literature by searching the literature and where to store it. After storing it, now the most important part is like in research class, either we are thinking of writing a review article or research article. So if you have developed the methodology, or if you have clear picture on what is your objective, what is the scope, so if you have all these clear information, so straight away you'll be going to the research article. So if you don't have any clear information, if you wanted to find a research gap, and if you wanted to set the objectives, so to find a research gap, definitely you need to go comprehensive literature review. So when you go to the comprehensive literature review, so this comprehensive literature review could be a part of original research article, or it can be standalone publication, standalone article, that is called a review article. So these are the article types. So the key takeaways from this article types are like scholarly journals publish content in different formats, not just original research articles. Some forms of scholarly literature required original research, that I was already mentioned about this, that is primary literature, and some are based on other published work, so that is called secondary literature. Consider options like review articles or perspective opinion pieces to start off your publication journey. So that is where we take participation in conferences. So we take participation in seminars. So we take participation in poster presentation. So we take participation. If you are not taking participation in any of these three, like when you are discussing with the researchers, other researchers, or allied people in that particular area. So in the other way to communicate this is through short communication, that is called open pieces. So you can publish your work. So now let me start with the review article. So most of the researchers will have some sort of looming worries, like okay, so when somebody has said like as a scholar, like your guide will ask you to start with your review articles. So you may say that you may give you a deadline, like 3 months. So within 3 months, when you are given a deadline of 3 months, and you have to write your review articles, and you have no uh, back, backup or like any sort of experience in this research. So in such cases, it is quite difficult to write review articles. So as you all know, like without you communicate with your guide or supervisor, you don't get any inputs. So in such cases, so you have to develop your own idea and you have to connect your own research. So by connecting your own research, then you have to start writing review articles. So what exactly will be incorporated in review articles? So review articles provide a critical and constructive analysis of existing published literature in a field. Let it be in engineering, let it be on clinical or medicine, so let it be on social studies. So there we will have critical and constructive analysis of existing published literature. So already I have shown, like in the reference manager, you store all the literatures which are already published on your particular topic. Then you go through it. So first you go through abstract, go through the conclusion. So then you can understand like whether it's related to your research or not related to your research. So likewise, you will be going through n number of literature or publications and trying to understand that. Once you collect all those literatures, then you start developing. Before developing your review article, to create a template. So after creating a template, then only after creating a template, so most of the cases what researcher does is like copy pasting the things, either copy from the abstract and paste it, or copy from the conclusion and paste it, because it's very difficult when starting up the research. It's quite hard to know that how to start. Even I had done the same thing. I'm not differentiating like current or like myself. So even I had done the same thing in early start of my research. So like what we do is like copy from the abstract and copy from the conclusion, and then we try to rephrase it. So that is quite hard, like when we are publishing. So it's very difficult to accept it. So rather than doing that, collect all the information, collect the data. So the data being published. So let's say if it is a concrete. So when we are talking about a concrete, high performance concrete or like 3D printing concrete. When you talk about 3D printing concrete, so there are different sort of materials being used in published work. So then we try to tabulate it. So try to tabulate it or try to develop a flow chart. So like again present it in very different. Present it in the flow chart or present it in the tables. So that it will help you to have the critical and constructive analysis of existing published literature. Otherwise, it's just like summarizing everything and reporting over there in the particular manuscript. So in that, like after again, once you have all these details, and write a summary of each and every one. So I'm referring to only one paper, like which I had shown in the previous case, the 3D printing concrete, which was written by Rahul. So I summarize it. So when I summarize it, next level is to conduct analysis. Analysis means let's find the different authors who have published the work on 3D printing concrete and see what sort of results and conclusions he has drawn in that particular paper, and compare with this Rahul's paper. So whether is there any conflicts between these two articles. So if there are conflicts between these two articles, so you have to critically comment over there. So there is a difference between these two results. So also you need to justify it. You need to mention the justification, saying that what is the reason for getting two sort of results, conflicting results. And if there is the same sort of results, and there is some sort of enhancement over there, then you have to state it. So that is how we have to write our review articles. And comparison, if there is, I can generate a tabular form and compare it. And likewise, you can collect n number of papers on that particular topic and compare it, so that if we'll have more literatures, at the same time we'll have critical analysis on that, and also you are giving the future scope up to work. So by stating that, okay, Rahul has done so and so, and the other researcher has done so and so. So when you compare those two results and both have obtained this so and so, and this is a future scope, or that is nothing but the research. So there is where it's saying that often identifying specific gaps or problems and providing a recommendation for future research. So this is the main idea of review articles. So when you started, so generate your own idea. So without having any idea on the topic, like what topic you need to conduct research. So that is where most of the cases when you are trying to apply for PhD, or when you are trying to conduct any research, write a proposal for getting your project, funding support from the agencies. So I'll start with your own idea. So that is the bottom line. Generate your own idea. So once you generate your own idea, that will connect to the developing knowledge network in the field. So I was given the topic building information modeling. So that is like my idea. I wanted to conduct a research on building information modeling. So building information modeling, it's not just like confined topic. So it is a broader. It has broader knowledge. So when it has broader knowledge, what I'm particularly wanted to conduct a research on building information modeling, whether I wanted to conduct an old construction project, old life cycle of the construction project, or I just wanted to limit the particular phase of the construction projects. So that is where it's important to conduct your literature study, comprehensive literature study, to confine your work. So otherwise, what would happen, like essentially this much, but your interest goes on like anything. So it goes like a ocean. So the ocean, so it's very difficult to compact all this ocean and put it in 10,000 words or 12,000 words. So therefore, first you have your own idea, connect to the developing knowledge network in the particular field, and then start telling a story. So literature is nothing but telling a story. So that is what I was trying to tell. Like Rahul has done so and so, and other researcher has done so and so, and this is a comparison between these two results. And from that story, kind of a chain story where each writer starts with a partial story created previously by others and expand on it. The existing literature is a story so far. So after telling all the story in summary, then the next level is analysis. So earlier I was mentioning like there are three types of review articles. So one is literature review, another one is systematic review. So where in the engineering domain we are rarely go for literature review. The literature review will be only conducted for PhD thesis. So where in the PhD thesis you should start with the background. So after start with the background and how it has been grown up, like that is where basically we talk the history, and after talking about the history and what is the current situation on that particular topic and trending in that particular domain. After trending, so this is where we start telling the story. So the most of the literature review will be conducted for thesis. So when this literature review, all content we cannot publish as a review article. It's very difficult. So nobody has, none of the publications will accept it. That is by my own experience. I'm telling it. Like when I started my career research for my PhD thesis, and I had no clue on how to write a review article. So that I found when I'm going through the literature studies, I found everything is interesting. So whatever I found interesting, that is what the readers are expecting. That is what. So by keeping that in the mind, and I put everything, it became 13,000 words. So when I submitted the particular journal, so it got rejected, and so the comments were mentioned that this sort of literature review is suitable for writing a book chapter or part of writing a thesis. So it is not meant to publish in that particular review article. So this kind of difficulties you may face it. Therefore, you confine your topic. So first, building information modeling. After building information modeling, you develop keywords. So keyword is not referring to the title. Keyword is what you are looking within that particular title. So I'm looking like construction projects. I'm just looking for IO projects, or whether I'm looking for metro projects, or whether I'm looking for residential projects. So if it is a residential project, or if it is a commercial buildings, or if it is a highways. So let's say if I wanted to use this building information modeling for IO project. So when I'm using this information, again it's confined. So it is not broader now. I'm not just talking about building information modeling. So I'm just looking the application of this building information modeling in IO projects. So what sort of modeling I can develop in these IO projects? Again, I have to develop the keywords. So whether I am looking for PPP projects. So how building information modeling can support the public-private partnership projects. So public-private partnership models, their hybrid annuity model, or there are like other types of models which are already being adapted in PPP projects. So will it be supporting to that model? So then again, I have to put that HMA, so hybrid annuity model. So again, I generated second keyword. The first one is highway project. The second one is hybrid annuity model. So then again, it's confined. Now I want to see that whether I'm looking in terms of time or whether I'm looking in terms of cost. So if I'm looking in terms of cost, so again, the third one is cost. If I'm again looking in terms of time, so the fourth one is time. And finally, so what is in overall what I am looking like? So in overall, like by adapting this building information modeling, will be enhancing the project or will increase the efficiency of executing the project or not. And in addition to that, if you wanted to conduct this literature study limited to particular region, so the particular region, so in such cases, you can add that as one more keyword. So likewise, you can set your keywords. By setting up the keywords, you are confining it rather than going in broader. So you'll be confining it. So by confining it, then you can have the literature review on that particular aspect. Otherwise, like it goes as like ocean. So it's very difficult to cover everything in particular manuscript. So therefore, the key of this review article is be selective in what you read, or else you will get drawn in too much information. So that is what it required, filtering and sorting the essential from the irrelevant. So you can see in this picture, so essential is this much, but what you read, you find it interesting. Each and everything you find it so much interesting. So that rather than focusing on essential, so you'll be focused more on interesting things. So when you focus more on the interesting things, so you'll be going out of the context. So when you go out of the context, so you cannot meet the deadline. What it is fixed, like 3 months time. So you cannot meet the deadline, or you will lose the interest. Sometimes you cannot connect it back to your essential. So then in such cases, you lose the interest. Therefore, in the early start of your research, you bifurcate these things. So which is interesting things, you try to control on interesting things and try to focus more on the essential things. By focusing more on the essential, then you can filter and sort it out. So the research review article, so when you talk about field specific papers, so it is like pyramid. So at the apex point, that is specific papers. So where you talk about historical and seminal papers, so it is broader. So when you see in the pyramid at the bottom line, that will be covered more of the other publications. So where you talk about field specific papers, it is very limited. find broader about the building information modeling because it was started way back in 1973. So it started in 1973, but the white paper was released on building information modeling is in 2002. So you find very limited information on building information modeling. So that is field specific papers. So where you talk about concrete. So when you talk about concrete, then we'll go way back into Rome's time. So what are the building materials they were used and lime, so on. So that is like quite broad, and it covers many things: general text, encyclopedia, and reviews. So more specific and more recent. So if you are getting into more specific, like most of the engineering research are focused on specific topics. So where we are looking for trending one, or we are looking for the application. So or enhancement of the methods. So that it comes under specific. Whereas social studies, it is like the broader in way. So they have to cover everything: history, historical background, and up to date. What is up to date on that particular research? So I was mentioning the three types of review, which as the word limit start from 8,000 up to 40,000 words. So this is like where we're having literature review for your thesis. So you can go for literature review, start with the background and cover everything. So like summarizing of each and every article. After summarizing, then you will be going for comparison and just report it. The systematic reviews where we are looking forward to publish as a review paper. So that will be having less than 10,000 words. So this information you can get it from the journal types where you are intended to publish that particular review paper. So there it's guide for author. Again, I will show it next slide, or I'll go for the browsing and I'll show it. So where it mentioned about guide for author and so on. So systematic reviews, which is less than 10,000 words. Meta-analysis. A meta-analysis is a survey in which the results of the studies included in the review are statistically similar and are combined and analyzed as if they were one study. So this is called meta-analysis. So these are three types of review articles. So what is the best approach to writing a literature review? So there are two ways to write literature review. There are two different approaches you can adapt in writing the literature review. The first one is chronological. So in this approach, it describes each work in succession starting with the earliest available information. Typically, the sources are grouped together and discussed in order of their publication date. So this is called chronological order. And recording the research and developments in the field and on the specific topics over a period of time. So this is like we had gone through concrete technology. So when you talk about concrete technology, so we start with the history. So and now as on today, so we are discussing on 3D printing. So that is the development being happened on the research conducted on concrete. So this is very good to go as in the approach of chronological order rather than going for the other method, thematic. So thematic is like in this model, the author organizes and discusses existing literature based on the themes or theoretical concepts E or C feels are important to understanding the topic. So let's say when we are thinking of developing a new method. So when we are thinking of developing a new method, just a second. So when developing a new method, so in such cases, it's better to go for thematical approach, because when we go for chronological one, we don't understand like what method was adopted in 1950 and what method we are following in and 2020. So rather than going for that, we will be finding it for best methods. So out of the best method, we wanted to adapt or develop or enhance that particular methods. In such cases, so your literature review should be conducted on the basis of or by using an approach of thematical. So by using this thematical approach, so you can clearly understand only a method. You don't need to read complete article. So just focus on the method. So in the article, abstract will be there, introduction will be there, experimental program. So in part of the experimental program, will be having the method, adapted, then results and discussion, conclusion. So likewise, you don't need to read complete paper. So either you go through the abstract and you see that if they have mentioned method, so that is a method which you are looking forward, or you are interested to conduct a review, literature review on that particular method, then you getting in detail and read out the method. So by reading out the method, then you can write a summary on that. So by writing the summary on that particular method from that article, again you can collect another article and write summary. So after writing it, then you can compare. So by adapting the first method, what was the results achieved? By adapting the second method, what was the result achieved? So what was the efficiency? Like the first method is more efficient than the second, or the second method is more efficient than the first method. If the first method is more efficient, so was it validated? So if it is validated, and what was the efficiency? Let's say when we are conducting a survey, so like one researcher has collected 50 samples. So other researcher has collected 300 samples. So that is where we are getting in dilemma, like the recent research articles being published on COVID-19. So we are not very sure like whatever published is right or wrong, because some researcher just collecting 20 samples and saying that this is more prone to attack so and so age. So and the other researcher who has conducted survey and collected like 200 samples and saying that this is not much dangerous to that particular age group. So likewise, our discussion goes in this literature study. So therefore, we have to be very specific and what is our focus, and based on the focus and what we are trying to or what we are intended to improve on that particular method, so that should be focused. And if you feel like your idea is not fitting into any of those methods, then that could be as like your research gap. But you should give the justification. Why is it valid? I mean, is it feasible at what we are trying to fix it? Will it be fitting in that particular gap? So that is where you will be conducting the research. So that will be termed as a research gap. Then you will be setting your objectives and also limiting your scope. And further, you will be conducting research on that research gap. So as I mentioned earlier, the literature review structured in this form. So introduction. All literature review will definitely have an introduction that sets some context by providing information about the field of study. So even in original research article, the first part will be introduction. So introduction will be having the literature. So where the literature covers the background. So what is the research have been conducted on that particular topic, and hypothesis, and what is your objective. So this is covered in your original research article. There also will be having literature review. That again I'll be discussing when we talk about original research article. But as it's limited to review article, the introduction covered all this information. Then it covers the methods. So this is which I am referring to the literature review, systematic review. It's not referring to. No, this is a literature review. The systematic one will be presented in next one. So methods. Most literature reviews have a section that describes the criteria used to select the sources or the way in which the information has been presented. This makes it easier for the readers to understand your approach. So in the main body of this review article covers how your body paragraphs are structured would depend on the organization organizational model you have chosen to follow in your review. Thus, the chronological model would probably have different paragraphs for different time periods, while a thematic model would have subtopics based on the different themes. So this is what will be covered in the body. And discussion and conclusion, this section summarizes the main contribution of significant studies and discusses the questions that the review has raised about the topic and field. This is also the section where you clearly mention the gaps in research that the review has sparked and the possible suggestions for the future research. And then we'll have reference list. This is quite common in any of the technical documents. So you need to have this reference list. So likewise, even in our literature review also structured with this reference list. The reference list is a very important part of literature review, as our article is based entirely on primary sources. The reference list should be detailed, and page numbers and sections details should be provided wherever it is necessary. So this is for systematic review. The previous one was for literature review. So whereas in systematic review, so that is where you are wanted to publish a review article. So review article in limited time. So in such cases, so you should have this format. This approach. First, develop a research question. Like that is where I was mentioning, like generate your own idea. So by generating your own idea, so then you can do the brainstorming to develop a research question. Then define inclusion and exclusion criteria. Locate studies, select studies, assess study qualities, extract the data, analyze and present the results. So analyze and present the results. So then the next method is interpretation of the results. Update the review as needed. So during the interpretation, then you can update the reviews as needed. This is the best approach to conduct a systematic review. So the systematic review article structured in this form. Start with the title. The title should accurately reflect the topic under review. Typically, the word a systematic review are a part of the title to make the nature of the study clear, so that the reviewers or the editor, when you submit a manuscript to the particular journal, it goes to the editor. Then editor will just overlook on your review article. So then it can understand whether it's a systematic review or the literature review. So by adding a systematic review or a part of the title to make the nature of the study clear to the editor, or also make clear to the reviewers. Then we will have the abstract. A systematic review usually has a structured abstract with short paragraphs devoted to each of the following: background, methods, results, and conclusion. Then further continue with the introduction. So in this introduction summarizes the topic and explains the systematic review was conducted. So in addition to that, in this systematic review, as part of the introduction, we'll be mentioning like there might have been gaps in the existing knowledge or a disagreement in the literature that necessitated a review. So that is where you are stating it out at the last paragraph of your introduction. So far, this is the study have been conducted, but none of the study are very limited study have been conducted on that particular research. Therefore, this literature review is conducted for so on so. So that is where necessitated a review. The introduction should also state the purpose and aims of the review. So next we will have methods. So methods, what I was mentioned in the approach. So you have to incorporate all those approaches as part of the methods. Results. The results section should also be explained logically. You can begin by describing the search results and then move on to study range and characteristics, study quality, finally discuss the effects of intervention on the outcome. In discussion, so discussion should summarize the main findings from the review and then move on to discuss the limitations of the study and reliability of the results. Finally, the strengths and weaknesses of the review should be discussed, and implication for current practice suggested as part of the discussion. Then go to the references. So here reference section of a systematic review article usually contain an extensive number of references. So far whatever literature reviews we have been conducted so far, it needs around like 70 research articles to publish as a review article, so that it shows the quality of your review article. If you are just limiting to the less than 50, so that it shows that not enough number of it is not so comprehensive, or it's not so systematic being collected in that particular manuscript. So you can consider using reference management software. So that is what I was recommending at the very starting of this session. Use the Mendeley, which is very easy learning tool, and also it will be helping you many ways during your research career. So this is the references. So let me just quickly go to the type of review article which we have written, but and also I'll tell the difficulties we faced and was it easier to publish or not. So let me stop sharing this presentation and go through. So this is some review article which was started writing during my PhD, and it is rejected for 3 times, and finally we have submitted it for the 4th time, again by enhancing it. That is what the difficulties had been faced while writing the review article. So here you see the abstract, introduction. So then like it starts with the background, and also I have collected the data. So data collectively presented here in the form of tables. So this is like different researchers have published on that particular construction material as in like industrial byproduct. So here, so again, like I have collected all these data and analyzed. So then compared between the studies and presented over here. So that is where it is talk about physical properties. So I'm referring over here and there, like what is the comparison between from one researcher to the other researcher. So yeah, I was mentioning earlier, like if you are using the Mendeley as a reference manager, it's quite easy to cite. Like you don't need to again type a number over here, and the same number should be maintained over there in the references at the end of this manuscript. So let me show that. So here references. So here in the references, so you have a plugin. So first you need to install the plugin for Mendeley. So once you install the plugin for Mendeley in Microsoft Word, so you will get this option. So insert citation. So let's say I wanted to insert citation over here. So when I wanted to insert, so let's say I wanted to insert this. So here you have different style, so you can change the style. So it is shows the number 22. So it shows the number 22. So when you go to the references, so you can see that serial number 22. Yes. So this is the paper which I have cited over there in the body of this review paper. Mixed design for flash-based oil form shell geopolymer lightweight concrete. So like this, you can save your time and invest this time to cover more literature so that your publication will improve the quality. So I hope it's clear. The Mendeley, if you have any doubts on the Mendeley, so you can keep your questions and ask at end of this session. So likewise, I have covered many tables. So here present all the tables summarized over here, even in chemical analysis. So you can see that there are many references which I have mentioned over here, and what sort of industrial byproducts they have used, and the different chemical compositions. So here it also covers on microstructure, X-ray diffraction. So then it's composed with different forms of that particular material. And their mechanical properties, fresh properties. So here in this review paper, so initially what I was done, like I was searching a topic on sustainable construction materials. So when I search a topic on sustainable construction materials, it is very broad. So frankly, it's very broader. So that when I try to cover, so again, sustainable construction as in the form of cementitious material, sustainable construction as in the form of fine aggregates, sustainable construction materials as in the form of coarse aggregate, additives, admixtures. So likewise, there are in many ways they have been used it. So when I'm trying to cover all those informations, so just 13,000 words are not sufficient. So therefore, that is where I got into difficulties to form my review paper. Then later on, I just limited to cementitious material. Again, when I limited to cementitious material, sustainable construction materials as in the form of cementitious material are to replace a cement. Then again, there are n number of materials being used. So n number of materials being used and published. So when I wanted to cover this information from the published work, again I had difficulties because I cannot cover 100 number of materials in one review article. So therefore, I limited to the region. So I limited where I had done my PhD in Malaysia. So I just limited to ocean regions. So by limiting to the ocean regions, so that you can find local materials. So rather than finding it out all sustainable building materials as used to replace the cement, I just limited to the sustainable building materials as used in Malaysia and which are locally available. So in that case, it is again confined my topic. So after confining it, still I covered like the many number of materials which are available as the industrial byproducts and use them as a cementitious material alone, not use them as a fine or coarse aggregate. So likewise, so even limiting to the region, so I covered around 115 papers, so including some of these standards, ASTM standards. So ASTM standards you will use while doing the critical analysis or comparison, whether it's meeting the standard or not meeting the standard. So this is all about review article. I hope it's very, you got some sort of hints or ideas to start your review article during your research career. So now let me stop sharing this and get into the original research article. So in original research article, so these are detailed studies reporting the original research and are classified as primary literatures. So at the earlier, when starting up this webinar session, I clearly told that there might sometimes it's difficult to publish the original research article, but doesn't mean that you don't have any publication at the end of your research. So you will have some credit by publishing the original research, but at the same time, so the satisfaction will be there, some sort of satisfaction will be there that you have published your own original research. So therefore, when you start your original research article, then you should think about your own idea, and if you have conducted the literature study, and from the literature study, if you found that research gap, and if you found that research gap, then the immediate question you should come to your mind that why you have to conduct this particular research. So this is an hypothetical way of developing your research method. So why to conduct your research? So then when you get the answer for like why to conduct the research, let's say if I am trying to conduct a research on building information modeling, so why do I have to conduct a research on building information modeling? Because the building information modeling is the trending topic, and it is already being adapted in United Kingdom, Australia, Hong Kong, USA, Netherlands. So after adapting this, and they found that this is an effective tool for managing the large scale, medium to large scale projects. So, and it is a very effective communicating tool. So whereas in the previous case, so where we have the traditional approach of delivering our projects. So traditional approach of delivering our projects is like the architecture will be having one side, structural engineer on the other side, MEP, mechanical, electrical and plumbing is on the other side, and contractor will be on the other side. On top of that, there will be client. So there won't be having any communication between the architecture structural to MEP and MEP to contractor. So in some cases, it's very difficult to deliver. Like let's say the architecture wanted to have a column in that particular location, and whereas like structural engineers feels like so it loses a strength and stability. So without the communicating to structural engineers, only architecture is recommended to go ahead with that particular structure. So again, we'll have the difficulties in the future, and there might be collapse without meeting the expected period. So therefore, you should think about it. That is where, like by adapting the building information modeling, you can manage the data and communicate. Like within the system itself, even architecture can give the inputs, and structural engineers also can give his comments. And if after connecting with each other, this is at the conceptual stage itself. You don't need to even go for execution stage. At the conceptual stage itself, you can correct it and then execute the project. Therefore, I feel like adapting the building information modeling in construction projects as an Indian scenario or an Indian construction industry perspective. So it is important to conduct the research on this particular topic. Therefore, I'll get the answer to the next question. That is it important? Yeah, it is important. Then the next is, so what is the benchmark? Are there any studies being published on this? So I need to collect the literature. So either you collect the literature and come up with the research gap, or have the research question. So whereas I mentioned it in systematic review, you will have the research question, then you started searching for the literatures. And when you come to the point where like you need a reference benchmark, and to get the reference benchmark, go through all the literatures or all the studies being conducted in various locations and collect all the information and gather it and see that how they have been improved it, and what are the conflicts or uncertainties faced over there, and with respect to the Indian construction industries, so what are the uncertainties would be facing it. So you note down all key factors and try to develop your research questions as well as the objectives. Then you need to have the justification, how it will be conducted, why it will be conducted, when it will be conducted, and who will be conducting or who will be adapting it. So when you think about building information modeling, you cannot expect to adapt for a residential building will be built in village or in rural areas. So it is not cost effective. So it's expensive to adapt for individual residential building. Therefore, you need to consider all these factors, and you have to justify this through your research. And again, you should have the implication. So their implication should include the explicit statement, reality measurement, truth, and proof. So there are standards as well. to show the proof. And finally, so where you can contribute and what would be the limitations of your research. And if you get answer to all these questions, so that you can easily generate your original research articles. Therefore, I clearly mentioned that it takes number of years to conduct the original research and report it and finally publish it. And publication, I mean, when you complete your research, so finally you can see the contribution and what are the limitations. So it doesn't mean like whatever the research you conduct should be in positive or should be positive, or it doesn't mean that should not have any negative aspects from your research outcome. So when you write this original research article, so I would like to mention 3 basic tips on writing good research paper title. So the title is very important when you are trying to impress through your original research article. It's not like a review article, so that they can understand. They could see your experience in that particular field. So based on that, they can judge it when you write a literature review. But it doesn't mean like or the same idea will not be adapted for systematic review. So, but whereas in the original research article, so research paper title should be impressive. So therefore, it should have this information, like condenses the paper's content in a few words. So what is your research about? So that should be clearly mentioned in your title, and that limited to maximum 22 words, and captures the reader's attention. That is more important. So it should capture the reader's attention and differentiate the paper from the other papers of the same subject area. So it should not look similar, like it gives the impression like the readers will feel like, okay, this is same sort of research conducted and reproduced it in different way and published the work. But whereas you have done something else and you have contributed something else to that particular field, so that will not get any attention. Therefore, you make sure that differentiate the paper from the other papers of the same subject area. So therefore, I mean, when you write an original research article, so make sure that your research paper title is like, you make sure that it's simple, brief, and attractive, and use appropriate descriptive words. Don't use like some jargons in your title. You're using the jargons, so that again it gives confusion to the readers. And so avoid using abbreviations. Like some abbreviations are quite common. So UNICEF. So when we talk about UNICEF, everyone knows it. So when we talk about WHO, so everyone knows it. So if we use abbreviations like this, so it may not lead to any issues. Whereas, so if like unexpertise in this particular area, let's say if I'm using building information modeling, rather than writing it as a building information modeling, if I say write it BIM, and some readers are new to this, and we who cannot understand abbreviations, so then it's very difficult to catch the attention. Therefore, try to avoid using the abbreviations in your research paper title. So the next is which is easier to publish. So before going to this topic, so let me show like one of our original research article, which is published recently in Journal of Materials in Civil Engineering. So the publisher is American Society of Civil Engineers. So this is the original research article. So in this paper, like we have conducted the research on developing the alloy masonry blocks using high volume of industrial byproducts. So this is the main concept. And the properties which we have investigated are like engineering properties, radiation shielding, and also focused on sustainability. So therefore, the paper title is Performance Evaluation on Engineering Properties, Radiation Shielding, sustainability of hollow masonry blocks produced using high volume of industrial byproducts. So this is abstract introduction. So as I told, like this is also will be having the literature review, and in this literature review it covers the background and so far the study is being conducted. Then the hypothesis, like why we have conducted this study, that shows in research significance. Then continue with experimental program, materials and properties. Then mixed proportion of hollow masonry block, methods of casting, curing, and test. So also we covered the microstructure investigation. So in this paper, we have not put any figures because ASE expecting us to produce separate files on the figures. So it depend on the one journal to the other journal, and we need to follow their guidelines. So this is all about original research article, and here acknowledgement, references, and finally we produce list of tables, and this is the number of tables being presented in this particular journal, in this particular article, and figures are shared in different files. So as I was mentioning, like how to find a journal, like after you completed or before starting your research article, if you are intended to publish in that particular journal, so in such cases you have to find the journal and see the scope of the journal. So stop sharing. So now let me share this. So let's say like now you have prepared your manuscript and you wanted to find a suitable journal to publish your article. So here, so now let me use this title, like which is the original research article, and put the information. So this is my title. And here I'm adding it. Here I'm keying in my abstract. So this is abstract and also keywords. So I'm keying in my keywords and find journals. So here you can see the of cleaner production text match is 100%, and here text match for construction and building material is 100%. And moreover, here you get all the information about this journal, like what is the site score 10.9, what is the 7.246, acceptance rate is 23%, and time to first decision it takes 5 weeks, and time to publish, so it takes 3 weeks. So you get all these information about the journal which you would like to submit your manuscript, and it depends on like if you have sufficient time, so you can wait for the time to publish in good journals. Like let's say if it's ASE, if you are submitting ASE, it takes almost a year. So likewise, you can find all the journals, suitable journals to your topic. And as you drop down, so then you can find like the text match is less as compared to the first ones. And here again, if you wanted to get more insights on that particular journal, you just click on this journal, go for journal website. So here in journal website, if you want to submit your paper, so this is submit your paper. There you will get editorial manager, that again I'll show it. But before that, you should go through the guide for authors. Here you have guide for authors, like what is the format should be followed, and what is the font size, and what are other guides or prospective authors. Like that is what I was mentioning very starting up today's presentation. So all journals who are not publishing all types of the articles, so therefore it is clearly focused on prospective authors. The prospective author should go through this guide, then find it. So if you want to know more about this journal, then view more on Insight. So here on top right corner, you can see like impact, so that you already found it. And if you wanted to know other information, you can get it all the details, 5 years impact. And some journals like will show the speed of review. So here you can see that review speed. And this is automation in construction. If we wanted to submit a paper on building information modeling, so in such cases we intended to submit to the automation in construction. And automation in construction, like it shows the information from 2015 to 2019. So earlier it used to take 12 weeks or 11.4 weeks, and now it takes only 6.7 weeks. So this is a review speed. And submission to the first decision, so you can get all the statistical information, and finally would get all the details. Once you get all the details, then you can think of it like whether you wanted to submit to this journal, whether you wanted to submit to the other journals. At the same time, you should consider the acceptance rate. So if your original research article is not got much quality of information, in such cases you should think about, like if you're submitting less than 30% or less than 25%, so they give more importance for quality of the publication. So, and in such cases very rare to accept. And if it is more than 30, there are more chances of accept your paper, or you can enhance your paper and resubmit it to this particular journal. So this is all about journal. So this is where you get editorial manager, where you submit your paper. So when you submit your paper, so here we have submitted one paper to Journal of Building Engineering. So here you can see that all the details when you have submitted and what is the current status. So this is title Approach of Building Information Modeling for a Project Risk Management in Architecture, Engineering, Construction and Operations Lifecycle of Construction Project. This is a review article submitted on July 14. Still it's with editor. So this all the status you can see it. So when you are trying to submit it, what are the documents are required to prepare before submitting it? I'll show that information. Yeah, here this is the manuscript which we have submitted to that Journal of Building Engineering. This we got title, article type is review article, and we have abstract, keywords, manuscript category. So we have to see which category it falls in. Corresponding author, corresponding author's institute, submission files, like you should have cover letter, highlights of your manuscript, graphical abstract, manuscript, complete manuscript, and conflicts of interest. If there are any conflicts of interest in the authors, so that should be stated in this document, and research data related to this submission. So this is a cover letter. So in the cover letter, we are highlighting the things, what are the topics which are being addressed in this manuscript. So highlights. So this is a graphical abstract, and this is the manuscript which is submitted to Journal of Building Engineering. And in addition to that, you should have suggested reviewers, so that you have to mention in this. So this is all about preparing the documents and submitting. So now let me come back to the presentation. Yes, what we were discussing was like which is easier to publish. an original research article or a review article. So as I mentioned, I took almost 3 years to publish a review article, whereas to publish original research article, I published more than 5 articles within these 3 years. So with this point, you can understand which is easier. Like, it's my own perspective. I don't mean to say that it is the same perspective for each and everyone. And so in general concept is like a review article is generally more difficult to publish for the simple reason that it is more difficult to write a good quality review than a good quality original research paper. So a good review is not just a summary of the existing literature. It has to be really critical, should provide a direction or perspective for the future research. So if you're thinking in terms of easy publication, I would say an original research article will be better choice than a review article. However, remember that what matters the most is the quality of your research and how well you have presented it in your manuscript. So that is where I was lacking at early career of my research. I had no idea on a review paper how to present it. So now when I submitted for the third time, so now I got at least clear information what I was writing. So likewise, we had submitted around 4 review papers. After my first paper was not accepted, and now it's under consideration and it's under review. So hopefully it will be accepted soon. But in addition to that, there are other 4 review articles which are under review in Journal of Building Engineering, and couple of in construction and building materials, and also one in automation and construction. So likewise, there are many review articles, but it takes time. It is not like when you think at the first trial, you cannot say like review is easier or original research. But it's my opinion, going for original research article will be better choice than a review article. So make your research paper like abstract. So when you're writing your abstract is like a movie trailer. People don't are reading the rest of the manuscript, they find your abstract interesting. So write the abstract after you have finished writing your whole paper. Pick out key statements. So I clearly mentioned why I was choosing building information modeling and what are the key statements. Then introduction, methods, results, discussion section to frame your abstract logical flow. So abstract should be within 150 words and you should cover all these information. So you should make sure like how many sentences you can write an introduction, how many sentences you can write your hypothesis, like why you have attempted this research, and then what are the investigation being conducted, and what are the results obtained, and what are the conclusions being drawn. So this is all about original research article. So I just wanted to argue a few insights on patent report. So the patent search, like if you have developed any product or if you have developed any device, so in such cases you can go for patent. So as far like when you considering about the weightage, so weightage wise, patent got more weightage in the publication. So patent search report, like by publishing your patent report, it gives information like anywhere in the world. Like if they are trying to patent the same kind of devices, so they get an information like at least patent agency, they can understand like they cannot patent that particular device because it's already patented under your name. So patent search reports provide a list of existing and pending patents that are similar to yours. This can give better understanding as to whether your idea is novel and non-obvious. So this is how patent reports will be published. So in Google search, you can go for Google patent search. So Google patent search, you can just insert your title, a key in your title. There you will get like whether any researcher already patented the same device or same product, so that you can get all the information for better understanding. So this is one of the patents is filed by our research group, like as part of my PhD thesis. So we developed eco-friendly hollow masonry blocks. So from this what I learned is, and I want to share with you all, like what are things being covered in patent report, like when you're filing a patent. So it should have the background of the invention, like which is the field of invention, description of the related art, like again it is kind of literature review if anybody has conducted. So we have to cite their patent number, state that they have conducted, but how it is different than them. So how it's different and why we have to patent this particular product. And brief description of the drawings. If you have any drawings like dimensions and so on, so we should do brief descriptions. Detailed descriptions of the invention. So it covers the abstract, process chart, mixed design, and if there are any examples, so we'll be giving the examples. And what we are trying to claim through this patent, whether we're trying to claim a materials, method, or product. So with this, I would like to conclude like this webinar session. I've given very brief information as well as like some tips to start your research, start your review paper, start your original research paper. Then if you come out with a concrete outcome from your research, so you can patent that particular product. So this I conclude my today's session. These are the references. So I think the PowerPoint presentation will be shared with the participants by the organizer. And if you have any questions, so I'd be very happy to take those questions and answer each and every questions. And if you have any doubts, so feel free to contact me through my email.
Any participant is having any questions, they can post in the chat box. Sir Ramesh sir, we have a question from Ravi Bagade.
Yes.
Please explain about how to remove plagiarism if we have to include some technical details of materials. Can I repeat?
Plagiarism. So as like you have, yeah, I got the questions what being asked by the participant. So I can answer this question. So and it's very good question because when we talk about a review article, so this review article when you submit it to the Turnitin, check the plagiarism. So you may get up to 40% because you take the most of the words from the paper and again rewrite it. If you are not changing any, or not rephrasing it, or if you are not writing it in your own words, so definitely it leads to the plagiarism. So in such cases, so first you need to understand from the abstract and the conclusion and try to write it in your own words. So that is where I try to suggest you to collect the data and start discussing on those data rather than just summarizing it. So discuss on those data because you will be analyzing it and doing the interpretation. So in such cases, you won't be repeating the same words. Or other way is like just omit the words and rephrase the sentences in your own words. So that is how you can minimize the plagiarism. I hope it have answered your question. Still, if you have any further question on this, you can feel free to ask me. I'll be very happy to answer.
Sir, we have one more question from Koturi Mahindra. Can we cite review paper while writing review article?
Actually, it is not suggested to cite the review paper. So because the review paper is nothing but like you are collecting the information from the published work. That is what we call original research article. So if at all, like again in the review paper, it is the statement developed by the author of that particular review paper. So in such cases, you can cite that review paper. But if you are citing the content of the previously published work, so in such cases, you have to cite the original research paper rather than citing the review paper. So let's say if I'm talking about a building information modeling, it is my own idea on that particular published work in my review paper. In such cases, if he is citing my statement, in that case, he can cite my review paper. Otherwise, if I reported from some other published work, so in such cases, you have to cite the original research paper rather than citing the review paper.
Sir, we have one more question.
Yes, sir.
From Dr. N. Venkata Sairam Kumar. How to get permission for the published material from the journal or from author?
So the most easiest way is like most of the published papers will have the email. So sometimes the copyright will be with the journals. So sometimes copyright will be with the author. If the copyright is with the author, so in such cases you have to contact the authors and try to get the information or try to get the data whatever you needed. Otherwise, if the copyright is with the journals, so you have to contact the editor or respective officials to get all the data.
So we have one last question.
Yes, sir.
From Chandana Sri NS. How to select good quality Scopus indexed journals? I think you have explained.
Yeah, I wanted to again focus more on this. Most of the cases, what we does is like whatever comes to our mind, just we search in the Google and try to encapsulate all the information whatever we get through the Google. So whatever it's produced in Wikipedia is not correct, or like whatever we get through other sources is not correct, because sometimes it not went through the peer reviews. So therefore, I personally suggest you go through the Science Direct website or go through Web of Science. So where like most of published articles are went through peer reviews, number of peer reviews, then only it's accepted. And some other way, like most of the cases, we are getting into trap. Like simply whatever we produce it, we pay some 1,000 or 2,000 rupees and publish some random journals. And where the random journal says like it is indexed in so on so that they themselves just advertise like anything. So I strongly suggest the participants not getting into trap. Just have patience and wait for it. Definitely, whatever time you spend on your original research, and one or the other day you will be paid off for this. That is where you will have the credentials. Rather than you wanted to have the credential at instantly, so wait for your own time, and definitely will have your own credentials. So therefore, I would suggest you to stick on to the Science Direct. Even like when you search on Google Scholar, sometimes some of the papers are not like peer reviewed. Again, some of them are like paid journals. So paid journals in the sense without any peer reviews. So even there are like you have to pay for open access journals. It doesn't mean like that is a paid journal. It is not a paid journal. So just you are paying it for open access. So if you don't want to have the open access, so you can still go for free publication. So and some of the journals still they ask for subscription fee. That doesn't mean like that is a paid journal. If it is not going through any blind peer review, so in such cases that is not quality research journal.
The last
So
question.
we
have a last question from Jagannath Prasad. How can select methods from a paper by mathematical or experimentally? Which one is good for further work?
So again, like it depends on the topic. I mean, what you are planning to conduct a research. Let's say if you're conducting a research on concrete, definitely I would suggest you to go for experimental. So, and again, on the other side, you will have analytical, which is a mathematical model, and you can make a comparison. So you cannot stick on to any one. So if you are sticking on to the experimental, then again, you should have the standards. So by comparing with the standards, you can state that, okay, this is, I mean, your results are validated. And if you are going for the mathematical one, and again, when you are running your model through ANSYS or running your model through Abacus, so again, you need to validate, because you are taking some of the properties of the material, and those properties of the materials are whether experimentally performed or not. So that in such cases, to validate your result, you have to go for mathematically as well as experimentally.
So thank you very much, sir. Thank you all the participants for your active participation. Now I request Dr. D.V. Ashok sir, Dean Research, to moderate the session and share his views. So over to Ashok sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Very nice and simple way of talk on writing a research article and vital tips for beginners by Dr. R. Ramesh Naika, Assistant Professor, Construction Technology and Management Division, NIT Warangal. And last 1.5 hour, we just concentrated on his steps. Just I am summarizing. He has summarized how to understand the assignment, how to choose a research paper topic, how to conduct preliminary research, and how to develop a thesis statement, and how to create a research paper line and paragraph structure, write a first draft of the research paper, and how to write the research paper introduction. Okay. Anyhow, finally he concluded with the patent and other information. Very informative, totally very interesting webinar. And behind these type of research activities, always our principal, Dr. M.E. Latte, supporting as a backbone. I congratulate Dr. Santosh B.S., HOD Civil, JSTB Bangalore, Mr. Satish Kumar SR, Mr. Abhishek R, Faculty Coordinator for Civil Engineering, JSTB Bangalore. This webinar supported by Sri R. Rajesh Kannan, Chairman, ACCE, Srikant Channel S, Secretary, ACCE Bangalore Center, SC Savina Kumar, ACCE, and special thanks to Diksha. So, thank you, sir. Thank you.
So thank you, sir. Now it's my pleasure to propose vote of thanks to the individual.
Before that, yes, sir. Shashi,
You
sir.
want to say something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would like to thank each and every one of JSS Academy of Higher Education or Technical Education for giving me this opportunity to share my knowledge and give some insights on my research, writing a research article. I am so glad to present here, and I'll be very happy to continue association with JSS and as well as Association of Consulting Civil Engineers, Bangalore Center. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Abhishek and Shashi Kumar, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Contacting me. Thank you.
Yeah. So now it's my duty to propose vote of thanks to the individuals as well as the organizations who are helped and support in organizing this webinar. Today's speaker, Dr. Ramesh Naika, has shared his experience in writing a research article. He talked about article type, review articles, original research articles, comparison between them, patent reports, and also the reference management tools like Mendeley and EndNote. I wholeheartedly thank him for his time and support. Thank you, sir. I thank our principal, Professor Mrutyunjay V. Latte, for permitting and supporting the webinar. He's been our constant source of inspiration to conduct events like this. On behalf of JSSAT and Department of Civil Engineer, I convey my sincere thanks to Engineer Rajesh Kannan, President, Engineer Srikant Channel S, Secretary, and Engineer Savina Kumar, Treasurer of ACCI Bangalore Center for their support and providing Cisco WebEx online platform. I thank Dr. D.V. Ashok, Dean Research, JSS Academy of Technical Education, Bangalore, for spending his valuable time and moderating today's webinar. I convey my sincere thanks to our head, Dr. Santosh B.S., for providing free hand and guidance during the conduction of this webinar. See, without the support of Mr. Annegowda, Manager, Ms. Diksha, Admin Assistant, ACCE, this seminar would not be successful. I thank both for their coordination and support.
Thank you, sir.
I thank my colleague, Professor Abhishek R, for his coordination with Dr. Ramesh Naik sir and in organizing the webinar. This webinar will witness registered participants around 566 from different parts of India and world. The type of participant includes, I will just share the statistics. 67.3% are faculty members, 9.6% are research scholars, 14.1% are students, 4.9% are industry professionals, and other 4% includes government officials, entrepreneurs, and consultants. I convey my sincere thanks to all the participants for their active participation and support. Finally, I thank one and all. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Madam, anything? So thank you.
Madam, mic is muted.
Madam, mic is muted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything you want to say?
No, sir. Santosh sir want to talk? Otherwise,
No.
Can I end the meeting, sir?
Yeah, Madam, please share the recording.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Yeah.
It takes another 2 days.
Yeah, before closing, I think those who have submitted the feedback, I think you have received your participation certificate. And with the permission of Ramesh Nayak sir, we have already shared the QR code in the certificates. If you scan the QR code, you will going to get the presentation material. I think it is clear to all the participants. Presentation material is available as the QR code in your certificate.
So, participant list I will share today itself, but recording it takes another 2 days.
Okay, madam. Okay, no problem, madam.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So thank you, Ramesh Nayak sir, once again.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, sir.